Thank you very much. Kwesi Pratt.
The most interesting comment on this case that I've heard has come from Dr. Matthew Opoku-Prempeh, the running mate of the presidential candidate of the New Patriotic Party in the last elections. When he was asked to comment on this Wontumi matter, he simply said that when Wontumi was taking huge contracts from governments, he should have known that the day of accountability would come. And that when that day arrives, what you do is to defend yourself. You understand? And that's very clear. There's another constituency secretary of the NPP in the Ashanti region that I heard, and he made a very interesting statement. What did he say? He said, all of this could be about Galamsey, and that they in the NPP promised that they will fight against Galamsey, and that if this is about Galamsey, then they in the NPP should have arrested Wontumi themselves and handed him over to the authorities. This is an NPP person. I've also seen the video that Alhaji Yusuf Hussaini talks about of NPP card-bearing members addressing a press conference and saying that, look, Ashanti roads are in a deplorable condition, and that it is because their own leaders took contracts to fix this road and didn't do it. You understand? And they were livid with anger. And this NPP stalwarts in Ashanti actually mentioned my good friend Wontumi as one of the people involved in this. So I think we should be careful not to brush anybody, not to touch everybody and anybody in the NPP with the same brush. There are some people in the NPP who believe in the principles of accountability, who are ready to work with state institutions in order to achieve those objectives. And I think we should be clear about that. I saw the people who massed up at Yoko in the night, I think 2 nights ago, who actually tried to burn Yoko, set fire and so on. And from the video that I saw, there couldn't have been more than 50 people. That is not the New Patriotic Party. That's a small group of people, you understand? But throughout all of this, I've been shocked by some of the statements which have been made by some leading members of the party. One of those leading members is this guy who is head of communications, Ahiagba. Richard Ahiagba. I mean, I saw him on TV3, and he was livid with anger. And he said, we don't care whether the government is right or wrong. I said, my goodness. The head of communications of the NPP doesn't care whether the government is right or wrong. He reminded the Mahama administration of the fact that they still have numbers that they can deploy. Deploy to do what? Deploy to do what? And when leaders say that we don't care whether what the government is doing is right or wrong, it raises many problems. It's the same person who, when it came to the impeachment process of the Chief Justice, actually said again that what they're doing, their demonstrations and so on, is not about the law. It's not about the Constitution. It's not about the law. It's not about the Constitution. And that the real motive for their demonstration is that somehow, strangely, they suspect that President John Dramani Mahama may call for an amendment of the Constitution and run for a 3rd term. Can you believe this? That is not about the law. It's not about the Constitution. It's not even about the impeachment process itself. That the real motive is that somehow, strangely, they have come to a conclusion that President Mahama would move for the amendment of the Constitution and run for a third term. Where is this coming from? I mean, unbelievable. What all of us have to realize, members of the NDC, members of the NPP, all of us, what we have to realize is that those who sow the wind reap in the final analysis the whirlwind. You understand? All these things about mobilizing people to go and burn Ryoko and so on, it will have consequences for all of us, including very innocent people who have nothing to do with NPP and nothing to do with NPC. And they should be careful. The line they are pushing can have very disastrous consequences for them, for us, for everybody. And I think that they should be very careful. I insist that even criminals have rights. I insist that those who commit murder have rights. On this panel, we are happy to have Alhaji Yusuf Husseini, who is a well-respected lawyer and so on. I'm a lay person, and I suspect my brother to. I suspect that my brother too is just like me. You understand? But I'm told that if you are charged with murder, the law does not even allow you to plead guilty. You yourself, you can't plead guilty to a charge of murder. Why? Look at the level of protection that the law offers persons who are charged with murder. So everybody, we must apply the law for everybody. Nobody's right should be abused. People should have the right to counsel. People should have the right to refuse to make statements on arrest and so on. Once all these fundamental rights are respected, let the law deal with us equally. And there's no problem. Every time people recount what happened in the past, and many things happened in the past. Look, one of those things which happened in the past was simply the fact that Mr. Chachu Chikata was arrested in church before his God. You know, and I continuously make the point that unfortunately his God couldn't prevent the arrest. You understand? But he was arrested in church. You know, Kojo Chumbuafu, my good friend Kojo Chumbuafu, sick man. If you count the number of times he had to appear before investigative bodies, he was sick. He is still sick. It's unbelievable, but it happened. It happened. You know, and then the other day I heard somebody saying that those who are being arrested, they are facing trauma. Their children are facing trauma and so on and so on. Me, I was not arrested for committing a crime. I was not arrested for committing a crime. The system, the establishment decided that the way to deal with me was not to arrest me, but to tarnish my reputation. So they cooked up a story, hopeless story, which fell apart only after 3 years of persistent harassment. That I had gone and taken 125,000 from former President John Rawlings to do his propaganda. And this story went on and on for 3 years. Today, I have had high blood pressure. I never had high blood pressure. As a result of this matter, I developed high blood pressure. You are talking about the trauma facing their children. My children were in secondary school when they were summoned before their class and told that their father was a rascal and a thief. They didn't suffer any trauma. They should stop this. This country has to move on. There are serious problems that have to be solved. The debt burden is huge. People can still not afford 1 square meal a day, not 3, 1 square meal a day. I told the story of a friend of mine who is a musician, just a guitarist and so on, whose child was knocked down by a trotro vehicle, took the child to one of these hospitals, and he was required to pay 120,000 cedis deposit. Where is he going to find that money? This is the problem people are grappling with. So let's stop the unnecessary noise. Let's stop the grandstanding and let the law work in our country for at least for a moment.
Thank you.
When you talk, they say, "Oh, but if it was wrong in the past, it's wrong now."
No, yeah.
That's their response.
Yeah. I've heard miracles about just say that.
Yes, but did you know that it was wrong?
Yeah.
But Master, this is what I say. When something happens to you and you're talking and you say, but don't you remember that it happened 10 years ago? Why are you not condemning that? When it happened 10 years ago, we condemned it.
Yes.
Yeah.
You understand? It's been condemned already.
So they defended it.
Yes. Why do we have to keep condemning it forever when new things are happening today? It doesn't make any sense. And you make the point that you're right. Those who defended those atrocious acts are the same people who today are telling us to equalize.
And some of us suffer for not defending.
Look at Kwesi Pratt.
He suffered for laughing with me on a radio program. I will be smiling with this man. They expected him to slap my face. And because he didn't slap my face, they were very angry with him for laughing with me.
Kwesi Pratt, Adam Ibrahim, Sepayanki, when they were convicted for causing financial loss, you know what the NPP did? They had bussed people to the court. I was there, court premises. And when they were leaving the court,
hooted at them.
They hooted at them. What indignation is greater than this? Is more than this. So they should stop what they are doing. I mean, we have some Westerns.
Right. Abubakar Yusuf says, let him pay his 50 million bill first. Edward Bigbaza says, Chairman Wontumi has solid money. He should suffer for this case.
He was going to buy Chelsea.